Welcome back, humor consumers, to the Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast. I'm comedian Tracey DeGraff.
And I'm Catherine, co-host.
And bestie.
Bestie.
Love it. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Very, very smooth, as always.
Right. Smooth like a bumpy road.
That's right.
Yeah. You're glad.
I would agree.
You're glad when you're off of it.
Yeah.
You might have
and then we just say
tire.
it's smooth. Oh, that was smooth. Because we're just positive people.
Yes. Making the best of it.
That's right.
And we're putting one foot in front of the other.
As always.
Yeah. Catherine and I are having moments like we're having a thing. We're
a funk.
Yes, it's a funk.
Yeah.
I'll call it, as I was describing COVID-19 in something I was describing it, I'm like, it's not COVID-19. It's COVID-19, COVID-20, and COVID-21.
Yeah. But it ends there, right?
Yes. No
Let's
more.
Just hope.
Okay.
For smooth, real smooth.
Right.
Not bumpy smooth transition to 2022.
Yeah. Part of the reason that we're, frustrated is that it's really upset the apple cart in terms of what we do. Because typically for October, Catherine and I would be traveling and doing events.
Yeah, quite busy.
Yeah, and
full
purposeful.
I know.
Filled with lots of purpose and fun. Oh, we've had so much fun over the years. And last year, of course, we were completely shut down. And this year, we're mostly shut down still.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe some of our listeners are feeling the same thing. I would have to.
Well, everybody's
I'd have
affected.
To guess. Yeah.
Yeah, one way or another.
Right. We're just tired of it. We're tired.
Yeah. We can admit that.
All right. Good. Because out
real.
it came. You can't help it.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, here we are putting on our headphones and got our little microphones in front of us.
Well, and that's, we wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for
That's
COVID.
so true. It's very true.
Yeah.
So thank you,
you're welcome.
COVID.
You say thank you, COVID. I say you're welcome to the listeners.
Great. If you're brand new, and this is the first episode that you've tuned into, you are in the right place. Welcome to our crazy. Catherine and I are best friends, and we are doing this podcast because normally we would be out traveling. I'm a comedian. Catherine, she's not funny. No, she's not funny. She's funny in private, but you couldn't get up on stage and tell a joke.
No. Oh my goodness. Not even in a nightmare.
That would hurt.
That would be the nightmare.
It would hurt. It would be so painful. I would pay to see it though.
Yeah,
just
I'll
like
bet
a
you
train
would.
wreck.
Yeah. You know who it would hurt most?
You.
The listeners. The audience. They would be hurting.
I have a feeling it would hurt you more. I think that you would probably be vomiting on stage. Anyway, we didn't plan on going down this trail, but here we are. I'm trying to give new tuner-inners, new listeners, an idea of what we're like, and I guess they're just getting a full taste of it.
That's it. That's us.
Because
this is us.
It is. I like that song that is from The Showman or something, and it's like, this is me, and it's the bearded lady.
Yes.
I can relate to that song. Take it or leave it. This is me.
Oh, I thought you meant the beard.
I do. I do mean
okay.
that.
Okay. That's no.
Anyway. Okay. All funnies aside, the reason that we're doing this podcast is because when we used to be out on the road, traveling, doing comedy shows, and inspiring people, because I'm a breast cancer survivor, I use that as a platform to bring the comedy to the audience, but to inspire them to take care of themselves and stay on top of their breast cancer screenings. Okay. And then I also, when it's not breast cancer awareness time, I also do events for churches. So it's either point them to Jesus or point them to a mammogram because they both save, right?
Right.
Jesus saves your soul and mammograms save your other things.
And both of those, the breast cancer awareness platform.
Yes.
And even the comedy is not something you really plan to do. Both of those things, with the comedy, somebody said to you, right? Was it your editor,
It was the
publisher?
publishing coach.
Yeah.
He said my book
Yes.
was funny.
Right.
You should do stand-up.
Mm-hmm. And with cancer,
Yeah.
you didn't sign up for that.
No.
You got it.
Mhm.
And then how did that get started with doing the cancer?
Well,
Somebody-
because I had previously is the word I was looking for. Before I had breast cancer, I was already working in churches
Right.
with Life Happens, Laugh Anyway.
Mhm.
That was my show.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just bring the comedy and then at the end share a little bit about Jesus
Right.
and encourage the audience to take action. So after I recovered from breast cancer,
And quit Southwest.
oh yeah.
But
Yeah, that was
it
first.
was a little bit of a deviation.
You'll have
there.
to listen to all of our podcasts.
Yeah.
We have 40 some other podcasts that you can listen to get all of the ins and outs of our lives. But
More
yes.
to come.
Yes. When breast cancer came into my path,
Mhm.
I had resigned from my position with Southwest Airlines. That came first. Then I got the mammogram, had the cancer. But previous to all of that, I was still doing comedy
Right.
for churches.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Life Happens, Laugh Anyway. Well, when cancer came my way, I had to take a break from everything
Mm-hmm.
and get cured, get fixed,
Right.
do all the surgery, do the radiation treatments, all the stuff. And when I recovered, the hospital where I was treated in our area at Silver Cross Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
it's University of Chicago Oncology,
Yeah.
they were having a breast cancer awareness event, and they knew that I was a speaker and an author and a
Okay.
comedian.
So that was the first.
That was the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
it's just-
it was really great. That was a really
Yeah.
great event. And it was motivational because my real passion then was to get women in the audience who had not been getting their screenings to get on board.
Oh my goodness. And of course I was there.
Yes,
And when you were preaching it,
I was preaching.
I was like, whoa.
I was like Billy Graham, right?
You were, yeah. And that's
Mm.
when you came out with, if your house was on fire, at what point
Yeah,
would you want to know that it was on fire
right,
to get out?
right.
And I was like, whoa, you tell them, Tracy.
Yeah,
She's
and
very passionate. you
that's
know.
the metaphor that I use to get people to think inside of their own head. Because we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the broadcast, but I'll just say this part now. At the breast cancer awareness events that we do, I do the comedy just like everywhere else. The comedy part of it is the same. But when it comes to the end and I'm sharing the story, because the real reason that we're there is to get the women in the audience to get a mammogram.
Right.
That's it.
To motivate them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And you do that.
yeah.
Check, 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 check.
Well, and I think the only way that you can really motivate somebody to do something is to get into their head and get them thinking about themselves. And that's the metaphor that I use as I say to the audience, you're just about now to leave. You're going to go home. You're going to get into your bed. I want you to picture yourself there. Now you're in your bed and you're asleep, but there's a little fire that started in your house. Now it's in the attic and it's just a little bitty fire, or it's in the kitchen or wherever. When would you like to become aware that that's a fire?
Mm-hmm.
When it's something that you can easily put out and, it's no big deal?
Mm-hmm.
Or when not only you, but you and your whole family,
And your dog.
yes, are fighting for your life
Mm-hmm.
to get out of that burning house.
Right.
Because that's really what cancer is.
Mm-hmm.
It spreads like fire
Yeah.
if you leave it.
You've got to get it early.
You can get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Preach it, girl.
Well, let's go.
Ah,
All right. Well, we've got a couple of other things to cover.
our sponsors.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who are our sponsors, Catherine?
Muffin and Pooh, Ron and Kenny. They are our husbands. Our loving and supportive
Yes.
husbands.
They're great.
Mm-hmm.
It almost sounds like we're a group, like we're one. It's us,
Oh.
the four of us. We're all one. We do a lot together. The guys
do
are great
life
friends too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you to Muffin and Pooh for your faithfulness. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Don't quit.
For real.
Yeah, you can't retire. We have to do stuff. All right, so we covered that. Now, the 3 takeaways that our audience are going to get out of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned because we've already gone off the rails a couple times, but here's our outline.
Yeah.
I actually have it. Takeaway number one, we're going to cover why you should get screened.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, who should get screened. And number three, how to overcome objections to screening for breast cancer.
Very
So
good.
those three things, why, who, and overcoming objections. So let's just dive into why. Why, Kat? Why should women get screened?
Well, early detection, which we touched on earlier, is huge.
It's everything.
It's everything. Because the earlier it's detected, and it's only going to be detected through a mammogram or ultrasound.
A screening.
You're not.
Yeah.
In other words, you're not going to feel it if
No.
you have a lump, or if you have those little calcification things, which is not really a lump, but you're definitely not going to feel that. And your OBGYN doctor
Nope.
may not feel it either, or your partner, he or she is not going to feel it either.
Yeah.
So.
No, you're not going to feel it. And even when you're diagnosed with cancer, so I had my diagnosis and we knew where the lump was because, it was diagnosed through mammogram and then a biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew where it was, but the doctor still could not feel it even though he knew exactly where it was. It was about the size of like a pencil eraser.
Yeah, like a pea.
So, and it was considered stage 1. It hadn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's when you want to catch it.
Yeah. Another reason is 1 in 8 women will at some point develop breast cancer.
That's a lot.
1 in 8.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that in your group of gal pals or, that's, yeah.
I mean,
It's
if
a
you
high
just think about
statistic.
all the women that you
Oops.
know in your life, okay? So you've got sisters, mother-in-laws, mothers, aunts, sister-in-laws, cousins, neighbors, friends,
A lot of different circles.
coworkers, church. There's a lot of women out there. 1 out of 8, that's a crap load of women going
Yeah.
to get breast cancer.
Right.
Okay, so that's a good motivator.
Yeah. In other words, every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States alone.
Hmm.
Yeah. So those are some good reasons.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
How
you
long
say?
have we been talking here? About 4 or 5 minutes? Something
No,
like that?
longer than
Like
that.
10?
Let me see, because I switched screens here. Oh, 12.
Okay,
Why?
so 6 women have been diagnosed with breast cancer since we started
yes.
talking.
Mm-hmm.
6.
Yeah.
So that's a motivation for women why you should get breast cancer. I mean, why you should get the screening is because there's a lot of American women getting breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So get the screening.
To add to that, so not only that, but, and not to be the Grim Reapers here, but 43,600 women will die from breast cancer in the United States this year, 2021. So it's not only, of course, because of the diagnosis, but those, people are, what I'm saying is people are still dying from it.
It is a deadly disease.
Yeah.
I mean, you can survive it.
You
if
can.
The earlier
Yes.
you catch it, the better off you are. So
Right.
there's no need to fear it.
That's exactly right. But we do want to put that out there.
Yeah.
That that's why you should go, because
Right.
it can be curable. You can
Yes.
have remission. So we're not just Grim Reapers. The whole reason we're doing this is to bring awareness because
Yeah.
of can recover.
Yeah, and it's this episode happens to be dropping in the middle of October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So it's appropriate, that we discuss this, but it doesn't matter when you become enlightened in terms of taking better care of your health.
Mm-hmm.
It's a positive step.
All right. And we have another reason.
What?
You matter.
Yes.
You matter to your family
Yeah.
and or your friends, coworkers, whomever.
That's right.
Yeah, so that was our other reason.
Yeah. Right. So get on it, gals,
Mm-hmm.
and get your screenings because you have a reason. You have a why.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, who should get screened? This is an interesting. By the way, the why get screened, some of those statistics that Catherine just pointed out, those came from a website called National Breast Cancer Foundation,
Inc.
and we are going to link that in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. It's an excellent website.
Good.
Yeah, it covers just about everything you can think of
Good.
related to breast cancer.
I really love the American Cancer Society website.
I went on there too.
It's so thorough,
Mm-hmm.
and their web address is cancer.org. I'm going to put this link in the show notes as well. This one, okay, so because our second point was, well, who should get breast cancer screenings? Well, this goes over that. And it gives you a guide based on your age as far as, at what age should you get a screening for all kinds of cancers. So if you open up the link, it'll give you all ages. It'll give you a breakdown of 21 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 64, and then 65 and up. So let's click on, for kicks and giggles, 40. So if you're 40, and it doesn't just give you breast cancer, it gives you colon cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, and it goes into all the, if you're at average risk, your test should be at age 45 for colon cancer. They just moved that. It used to be at 50.
Yes. Well, the American diet is so poor.
It is.
So it makes sense that 45 would be, it'd be moved to 45 because our diet is.
Well, just in case somebody's listening and they're thinking that they're off the hook and they don't have to get a colonoscopy until they're 50, just pay attention now, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49-year-olds, because you're up. It's your turn.
I was just thinking about when I first asked Kenny if he had talked to his doctor about the colonoscopy, and this is when he was about 45.
Okay.
I think. He's like, well, yeah, he already did it. And I said to Kenny, no. He's like, yeah, he did this, he did that. And I will go
in the office?
In the office.
Yeah, he thought that was a colonoscopy.
He did. And I said, Kenny, no.
Doesn't he have Google? Doesn't Kenny Google stuff?
Well, why would he Google that?
I don't know.
Gee, I'd love to have this happen to me. I just, no. Yeah. It was so funny, though, because I'm like, no, Ken, you have not had that.
Stay on top of it, wives. If the women are listening, stay on top of our men because... Yeah. Oh, wait.
Stay...
That came out wrong.
Stop it.
Wait. Stay current with your screenings is what I mean.
Yes.
Gosh.
Get the...
Okay.
I was about to say
Let's just go forward.
The whip.
Okay, don't say it. Jeez. Oh, stop. Okay, I'm back.
We are...
What? I can't
say we're Christians and
yes.
we're...
My face is getting red.
Getting hot in here.
All right, let's move on. Okay, cancer.org. Just go there and look at all their stuff because it's going to give you answers to your questions.
You okay?
No, not even a little bit. All right, we covered that. The third takeaway from this podcast episode is overcoming objections to screenings.
Yes.
So, Catherine, what do you think some of the objections are to women?
Well, some are legitimate. Well, I don't want to say legitimate, but some women are self-employed and they don't have insurance, and it costs a lot of money. Yes.
Okay.
That's one reason. Another.
Well, wait, before you go on, hold that thought, because let's just address one at a time.
Okay.
Cost. That is a legitimate obstacle. And really, honestly, I would say anything that's keeping someone from getting a breast cancer screening is a legitimate obstacle because it's keeping them from getting it.
Well, okay.
So what we need to do is acknowledge that and overcome it. Okay, so how do you overcome cost?
Well, I suppose if I did not have insurance, I would have to be disciplined to put money away for those kinds of screenings. Okay. And it's the same thing. I mean, like getting a car. You have to have a car, right? You got to get around. Or what else? You just have to be disciplined to put away for it, I guess.
Well, that is an option to overcoming cost. Another solution could be to contact your local hospital.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Call
Yeah.
the hospital. Just call them and just keep on calling them until you can get to the right person. A lot of hospitals or local counties or states, I know the state of Illinois does give assistance for a lot of different cancer screenings. My niece, Shayna Cruz, works for the American Cancer Society, and that's her whole job, is to go and speak to legislators in our state and encourage them to pass legislation that supports cancer prevention and cancer screenings and helping people to overcome this horrible disease.
Yeah.
So good on you.
I think that
Miss
I
Shayna.
was, yes, very good. Thank you, Shayna. I think I was thinking more of people who might not qualify for assistance because they earn enough, but yet haven't put away for it, you know, because of their self-employment.
I don't
think
know. I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
let's do this. Okay. If that's one of the reasons that women who are listening, if that's their reason, I can't afford it. Do this. Call the hospital.
Yeah.
Find out what the resources are available to you. Okay. And then find a way to get your screening. Because oftentimes what will happen is if you don't have insurance, your provider, the hospital, will lower the cost anyway.
Yeah, that's true. You can negotiate anything.
So that's number one. And then number two, they might be able to guide you to local programs that will get your screening covered.
Yeah, would calling the local, your county health department,
I would start with the hospital because the hospital's going to know. I would start with the hospital. I would ask for the, central scheduling or whatever for mammograms. Tell them that's what you're calling for. You want to schedule a mammogram, and then talk to that person and just go through the hoops. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. You're worth it. You're fighting for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can't get anywhere with the hospital, then call the health department and see if you can get somewhere.
Yeah, anytime we hear the word hoops, it
know.
does sound like a deterrent, but
Yeah.
as Tracy said, don't be deterred.
No,
Don't
keep
give up.
going. All right, so we've covered cost. What's another obstacle?
Well, some people just say they don't want to know. And I don't quite understand what's behind that, other than some people just say, well, when it's my time, it's my time. But I think once they actually get to it, they're going to be a lot more frightened or even regretful, I'm assuming.
Especially with this particular disease, because you and I both have had a close friend who didn't want to know. And her situation was she didn't want to know about anything medical because her parents suffered from a horrible, forget now what it was that they had, but they had something medical. It wasn't breast related.
Right. It was a disease of some sort.
Yeah. And she just didn't like doctors and didn't want to go.
She was traumatized.
Okay. So that's what I was getting to, is it's almost like a PTSD.
Yeah.
So you have this fear of medical situations, or you have this fear of, well, if I find out that I have breast cancer, if I just stick my head in the sand and I don't even go to the doctor, then I'm not going to find out that I have breast cancer. But that's not how cancer works. Cancer, if you have it, it just keeps on going and growing. That's its job. So your job is to find out when and if it's in there and then get it out ASAP.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I came up with the metaphor, actually, of the burning building. Was our friend who, I asked her permission, even though nobody knows her, I mean.
You mean that you haven't exposed who she is.
Right, to whatever. Anyway, it's not like Madonna or somebody like that. But my point is, with the burning building, that's the thing. When would you like to know that your house is on fire? When you're sound asleep?
Because even though she's Madonna, she still matters.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. All right. Well, what's another obstacle?
Boy, we talked about affordability. Oh, it's painful.
Yeah, it hurts. I just gave her a little sign.
She did.
It hurts. A mammogram does hurt. There's no getting around it. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. If you have breast or dense breasts, it really hurts.
Yeah.
More.
And with a mammogram, I don't understand it sometimes, because you know how you get in there and you get close and then you got to bring your arm around the side and then they pull all your skin from your back.
They do.
was like, my breast tissue is not in the back of me.
I feel it pulling down from my neck.
Yeah,
they're
do.
making my neck sag now. Saggy neck. Okay, folks, but still go.
You have to go. Even though it's uncomfortable, even though it hurts, I mean, you have to go. So it's not going to hurt very long. It's only going to hurt for a moment. And yes, it's a pain in the butt to make the appointment. It's a pain in the butt to, get there, and it physically hurts.
You know what's funny is my mindset was I never thought of it as a choice.
I didn't either.
I felt it was a responsibility. No judgment on anybody else. It's just the way I felt that it was my responsibility. Like the same as I do everything regularly, though. I go to the doctor once a year, my regular primary care physician.
Yeah.
I go to the gynae.
Yeah.
Once a year. Anyway.
Well, I do think it is a responsibility, and it's not a judgment. It's a fact.
You're right. Well,
we're responsible for our bodies.
Yeah.
All right. Other obstacles. Let's see. What did I have written down here? Time. I don't have time.
Of course.
It's inconvenient.
Of course. That's a reason.
It is a reason. I mean, a lot of women are juggling many things. You've got your parents, maybe, like you're experiencing that now with caring for your mom. Then you've still got kids that need you.
I don't want to offend any listeners, but sometimes I get frustrated when I know that someone is taking their pet to the vet more often than they're caring for themselves. And one of them being getting their screenings.
Yeah.
I do know people that
we do make time for the things that we want to make time for. This just needs to get up on our priority list. And one of the reasons that it needs to get up on the priority list is, as we said, you matter to a lot of people, and you probably don't realize what a hole you would leave behind if you're not here.
Right.
So you just have to do it. All right. Okay, we covered all of that, and I'm going to share this last little bit about my own experience with my diagnosis, because I do share this in my events, my breast cancer awareness events.
Here it comes.
Well, this is the truth. I'm not making this up. This is how it went down. Yeah. When I got my biopsy results, it was over the telephone. So I had already had the mammogram, and they said, well, we see something, but it's probably nothing, but just to be sure, we would recommend a biopsy. I'm like, okay. By the way, a stat on biopsies, Catherine, what was that stat that you found on biopsies?
80% of biopsies done come back negative, meaning non-cancerous.
Okay.
So if you're in that position or circumstance where you have to get a biopsy, you just learned this, most of us are really worried because, the screening is one thing, going back for the second screening or diagnostic is another. You start to get worried, but then when they say we need to do a biopsy, it's scary.
It is.
But the good news is that 80% of those results are non-cancerous.
So that's great news.
Yeah. I've had 4 biopsies
that have all been benign.
All benign, and I'm only 52.
Yeah.
So.
And it's encouragement to all of us so that it can take some of the fear away.
Yeah.
But it's also encouragement to get the biopsy if it's recommended.
Absolutely.
Anyway, because you don't want to leave it in there.
Right.
If it is cancer, you got to get it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had my biopsy and I was waiting for the results, and the results came by telephone, and it floored me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And
I was floored too.
The doctor says to me, yeah, Mrs. DeGraff, our finding is that you have invasive ductal carcinoma. Well, he didn't even say the word cancer. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, right.
I did not know invasive ductal carcinoma, but carcinoma. That one kind of threw me. I'm like, that doesn't sound good.
No, especially we all know carcinogens.
Yeah.
Like cigarettes.
And invasive sounds bad to me.
Right. But it's not the word cancer.
I had to confirm it with him. I said, are you telling me that I have cancer? And he said, yes. I'm like, oh. And I'm on the phone. Well, Ron was out in the garage working on one of the boys' cars because that's where he is most of the time.
Yeah.
We have 5 boys and they all have junk cars. Anyway, so he had he was up to his elbows in grease and he was under the hood of the car. And I went outside into the garage and I couldn't even talk.
Yeah. And he knew that you were waiting for the results.
Right. But he didn't know they were coming that day.
Right.
Like we had the biopsy and then they said it's going to be 3 or 4 days until we give you a call, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out into the garage and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm looking at him. I couldn't even talk.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd been married at that point, like more than 25 years. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
So all I could do was make a sad face and point to my breast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he knew, because then he's like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And he started to cry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Muffin.
Mm-hmm.
He was crying. And I've only seen this man cry. I think that's only maybe definitely it's the 3rd time I'd seen him cry. So
in many years.
Oh, over the course of 25 years.
Yeah.
Only 3 tears. He cried when he held our firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
When the other 4 came along, no tears. Just more like, oh gosh, here we go again. He cried when Free Willy got free.
Yeah, that amazes me.
We were watching it. And I'm like, are you crying? He's like, well, Free Willy got free. Like, great. And then he cried when he found out that I had breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our moment. And it was in the evening. So dinner, it was a crazy time of evening. Like dinner was like half made and he was in the garage and the kids were all over.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, who was waiting also for the results, and he lived in a town an hour and a half drive from me. So by now it was probably like 8 o'clock at night by the time I called my dad to tell him that I had breast cancer. And my dad at that time, he was like mid 70s, like 70 something. And I said, Dad, it's cancer. That's a thing. And we had been through this with my mom. Not breast cancer, but my mom died of bone cancer. She was only 51 when she died. So my dad and my mom were pretty young when they had to jump on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew, I knew, he knew. And I was crying, talking to my dad. And he was trying to be positive, and he said, well, you're gonna get it. You're gonna just hit it and get it, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hung up, and an hour and a half later, my doorbell rang.
Yeah.
And it was my dad.
Yeah.
He hung up with me, and he got in his car, and he drove to my house. He didn't say, I'm coming over.
No, yeah.
He just hung up, and he got in his car, and he came to my house, an hour and a half drive.
And he doesn't normally drive at night.
No.
Right. Or didn't. Yeah.
No. So the doorbell rings and I'm like, well, who's at my door at this time of night? Like by now it's like 9:30 or whatever. And I open the door and I'm like, Dad, what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to get home? Because you don't drive at night that much. And he looked at me and he said, well, I just had to see my baby.
Yeah.
And I was 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I mean by you matter to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who will be devastated if you're not in their life.
Yeah.
So if we can use mammograms and other cancer screenings to help us to live our best life and to be around as long as possible, that's not just a decision that we make for ourselves. We're making it for other people. Because I can tell you that there's only one thing harder in life of a cancer survivor than hearing the words you have cancer or invasive ductal carcinoma.
Yeah.
And the harder thing is telling someone you love that you have cancer.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't talk
Right.
to tell my husband.
Yeah.
So that's the real encouragement to our listening audience is to just think about what life would be like for your loved ones if you're not in the world. There's going to be a big hole there.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let that happen, not on your watch. Get current and stay current on every cancer screening that you're supposed to have. Yeah. And just do the best you can. I mean, cancer could still come your way. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Like my mother's cancer that she died from, there's no screening for that. It just happens. With the ones that you can screen to catch them early, they're all there on the website. That you check out the show notes, go to these websites, look at these different things, and then get on it.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Amen to that, sister. All right. Well, we've got some spiritual encouragement.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's bring it.
Felt the weight of all of that.
That's good, because
It is good.
that's what we really need to feel, is the weight of it,
Yeah.
so that we can be moved to act,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to act. All right. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. It says this: "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do."
Great.
It is.
Prepared in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Take care.
Yeah. And basically we chose that verse because of the purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
God created you. If you're listening to this podcast right now, that means you've got ears, you've got a brain, you've got a computer or a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
God created you, and he created you in Christ Jesus to do good works, and he prepared them in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a plan for you.
And you're made in his image.
Mm-hmm.
What could be better than that?
Nothing. It's a real gift.
Mm-hmm.
So take care of your gift, the gift of life.
Yes.
Okay.
Go like this.
Yay. Done.
Work is done.
All right, Kat, what's our call to action for our listeners?
Get your screenings. Get them done. Make the appointment.
Yes.
Go through the so-called
hoops. Yes, please do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've been listening to the Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast. I'm still comedian Tracy DeGraff.
I'm still Catherine.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.